All right, so this is the front-facing camera, and welcome to this video. Today I wanted to show kind of the video capabilities and differences between the iPhone 11 Pro Max and the Sony RX 100. This is Mark V. This isn't the Mark 7, I think that's out right now. So it's a little bit older, but it's still a great camera, if you ask me. The only real difference I can see between this and the newer model is that the newer model can zoom further and it has a headphone jack. So take what you will. I'm not a camera professional, so I could be wrong about that, but I think those are the only differences. But besides that, I just wanted to show the difference in camera quality between the iPhone and the Sony, in case you were thinking about getting a camera like this in order to vlog or do whatever with. So this is the front-facing camera. I'm going to switch to the rear-facing camera, and then I will switch to the Sony. So you'll also be able to hear the audio differences between these cameras as well. And then later on tonight, I will try to get some night video, some lower light videos, so you can see the difference between the iPhone and this. And I'll do both front and rear cameras on this iPhone. So right now it is kind of low light. It's not the brightest. It's 8:30 in the morning, so take that as you will. This isn't the most optimum time to record during the day, but I think it's a pretty good show of what it will look like when people are starting off early in the morning to do their videos. So front facing. Now this is the rear facing camera. I don't know if you'll be able to see much of a difference. I'm sure you will, because I'm pretty sure the front facing camera is way worse than the rear facing one. So this is the rear facing camera at 4K 60. I don't remember if it has HDR or not when it records at 60. I think it does. Something to look into later, I think. But regardless, this is the rear facing camera of the iPhone 11 Pro Max. And then next you'll see me switch to the Sony RX 100 Mark V. I was kind of debating on if I wanted to record on the Sony at 1080p, because realistically, nobody's really going to record that much using a 4K 30 recording on this camera, because it can only record up to 5 minutes at a time. And even then, you have to hope you get up to 5 minutes, because this camera can overheat before you hit the 5-minute mark, depending on where you are, you know, how warm it is outside and whatnot. So I was thinking about recording at 1080p, but I think for now, for this video, I'll record at 4K 30, so you guys can really see the difference between the 4K on the iPhone versus this camera. I think I will do another video where I will record at 1080p 60 frames per second on the Sony, and I'll do 1080 on the iPhone, so that's, you know, more fair to compare 1080 to 1080. I think what I will actually also do is that in the next video, when I do the 1080p comparison, that I'll first record on the iPhone at 1080p, then I'll record on the Sony at 1080, and then I'll record on the iPhone at 4K 60. So you can kind of see the difference between 4K and 60, which probably won't work, because when I upload videos, if I start off my video at 1080, it's going to upload at 1080, but I don't know. We'll just see how things go when we get there. So tell me what you think about the iPhone at 4K 60, hopefully with HDR and Apple's like surround sound video or something like that, where it's like 3D audio. I don't remember what they called it, but tell me what you think about the audio of the iPhone versus the Sony, and the video quality of the iPhone versus the Sony, and kind of lower light setting. And then later on, I'm sure I'll say it again, I will test the iPhone and the Sony at like really low light. So stay tuned for that. We'll be right back later tonight. All right, so now I'm on the Sony RX 100 Mark V. This is at 4K 60. One thing I do love about doing videos or vlogs on the Sony is that the camera will flip up, so I can actually see where I'm aiming at, versus this, where unless I'm doing the front facing camera, if I'm recording using a rear facing camera, I won't be able to see what I'm aiming at. So I do love that about this camera, but I think the quality of this camera, at least during the day, might be my preferred way to record vlogs versus the Sony. And that's just because of the quality during the day. Now at night, we're in low light. That's a totally different story, because unfortunately this is only a 12 megapixel camera, so it's not going to let in as much light as this 20 megapixel camera with a, I can't remember the size of the sensor. I think it's a 1-inch sensor versus this, I don't even know, like eighth of an inch sensor. I can't talk. So I think in low light the Sony will be better, but during the day I think the iPhone will be better, also because this also records in HDR, so it does like really good coloring and lighting and what have you, shadows. And I think that's important to people. It's not really that important to me because I'm colorblind, so I can't really see the difference most of the time, but yeah, so tell me what you think down below about the difference between during the day anyways, of the iPhone and the Sony. I think the iPhone right now will probably be a little bit better simply because of the audio and HDR. I could be wrong. This is still kind of low light, so the Sony might pick up more information and more detail than what this iPhone camera will pick up in lower light. So I guess we'll see after I'm done with this part. So later on today I'll do another quick video when it's like dark out, and we'll see the extreme difference between this phone and this camera. All right, so like I said, it is pretty dark in here. So this is complete darkness, low light. I'm going to turn on my dome light so there's at least some light. Maybe. Let's do that. All right, so now there is some light. So this is the quality in low light with a little bit of light. So I guess if you're out and about in the city and there's some overhead lights, this is about what it will look like from the front-facing camera of the iPhone 11 Pro Max. Let's check out the rear-facing camera. All right, so this is the rear-facing camera in low light. Let's turn off these lights real quick. So this is in complete darkness. Can't really see much. This is if you're like walking around in the city and you have some overhead lights going on. It's not a perfect representation of that, but this is like the worst possible, I can't think of the word, the worst possible situation that you can be in. So this is what the iPhone 11 Pro Max looks like using rear-facing camera, 4K, 60 frames per second, I think with HDR and very low light. So not the greatest of light. Now switch over to the Sony RX 100 Mark V. We'll see how that does. All right, so this is the Sony RX 100 Mark V in low light with, well, overhead light. So this is probably what you will see in like the city with some overhead lights. As you can see, you get a lot more light in the video. I'm gonna turn these lights off so it's like complete darkness. And I think you can still see a lot more than you can on an iPhone 11 Pro Max in total darkness. So tell me what you think down below, what you think the quality is. This is 4K 30 frames per second. I'm not sure how the video will be uploaded, if it'll be in 4K 60 or 4K 30. But this is 4K 30 on the Sony RX 100 Mark V. Pitch black, or almost pitch black. And this is with some light. So tell me what you think below about the quality. I think I can already tell right now that the Sony is doing a lot better than the iPhone in low lights, in like the worst possible situation you can be in. So like I said, tell me what you think down below. Catch you in the next video when I compare these two cameras at 1080p. So we'll be back for that.